there has been like a trend relating to startup growth, which is having founders kind of going back to the country they're coming from. Periodically we see essentially that happening in different areas. It's a trend that has been, I would say, moving.
Italian founders, Italian entrepreneurs that are acting abroad and, getting back in touch with Italy and moving back at least part of their operations to Italy.
Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of the Wicked Italian Startup. How are you, Nick?
I'm great. How about you, Jack?
Very good. Thank you. So the first thing that maybe we should touch is the fact that there has been like a trend relating to startup growth, which is having founders kind of going back to one of their initial assets, which is like the country they're coming from. And periodically we see essentially that happening in different areas of people from different geographies getting back in some form to Italy, and it's a trend that has been, I would say, moving. I don't know what's your feel, Nick, on this one, but we've seen a few actually.
Yeah, I don't have an idea about the data, so the underlying data. There's, as you say, there is this feeling that there are, Italian founders, Italian entrepreneurs that are acting abroad and, getting back in touch with Italy and moving back at least part of their operations to Italy. We see countless examples this week, right?
Yeah, exactly. So starting actually from the first news from last week, Naturbeads, UK-based startup developing cellulose microbeads, raising a substantial amount, 7.8 million British pound, led by Eos Advisory, participated by Progress Tech Transfer, CDP Venture Capital, and Paragon Capital. So very interesting deal, pretty technical, I would say. Just to give a little bit more context, essentially, the team is Italian. They're based at Bath University in the UK. And this company is pretty much like a spin-off of the project that they've been working on. Very great founder. Basically, what happened is that through the investment of a few Italian investors, well, including actually medtech Venture, just to mention like another one. What is interesting is that they're basically starting like a full production in the south of Italy. And we've seen how the south of Italy is actually blooming with a lot of companies. And that's another case where actually very capable founders are having operations both abroad and operationally, exactly as you were mentioning, in Italy, in particular in the south of Italy. On top of that, of course, Italian investors are very sensitive to this, and they're like gladly invest in companies that are like pursuing such a strategy. So we see CDP, we see Mito, interesting way of growing actually.
Yeah, and let me add to that the south of Italy, the south part of Italy, is one of those areas where there are a lot of funding, grants, a lot of resources to support companies that are moving there or study from there. There is talent. There are good universities in the south of Italy. There is a lack of, if you want, development of companies, and there are a lot of incentives to move there. So if you are a foreign company thinking to move to Italy, well, the south can be a good choice for a few reasons.
Absolutely.
And this is one of the cases, I think.
Yeah, I mean, last week was interesting because that's kind of the leitmotiv that we've seen. So let's talk about Rubedo Life Sciences. Basically, CDP VC invested in Rubedo, US-based startup, raising a Series A back in April. And basically, they're announcing an opening of an operating branch in Italy. So Rubedo is based in Sunnyvale, California, and they're basically leveraging their Italian network to actually move forward part of their research. So just to contextualize, Rubedo is working in life science in general, but especially in developing senescent cell treatment, which is connected with age-related diseases. So what they're going to do essentially in Italy is focusing on inflammatory skin disease, from what I can read. And basically leveraging everything that is happening in Milan, as you were mentioning, like great facility, great talent, great people that they do science. So very interesting deal for sure. So on top of that, what I want to say also is that investors are actually kind of targeting these kind of founders that are not only working abroad, even though they are originally from Italy, but also kind of pursuing this kind of strategy, which it's kind of a back expansion, I would call it, like kind of coming back, but at the same time to expand. So. Let's talk about maybe Techshop announcing a final closing of the first fund, which is Techshop 1, at 53 million. So essentially, the focus is basically digital product, SaaS and software, B2B in particular, with a particular twist, which is trying to support Italian founders abroad. And actually focusing also on the south of Italy. So there you go, another double pattern here, like emerging a little bit. So yeah, what's your impression? What's your take on this?
Well, of course, I'm very happy to hear that they reached the final closing at a sizable size. It's really nice that they're operating at full speed, at full capacity, actually. I think we launched more or less at the same time, our own software fund and their own, and we co-invested in at least a couple of deals. So it's been a pleasure working with the guys at Techshop so far. So looking forward to seeing more deals coming from them and with them. And again, this is part of the let's say. Of the area of opportunity in Italy. So there are funds operating in the seed stage. There is capital at this stage. So I think we have a good starting point to improve our ecosystem.
Absolutely. And on top of that, what I want to say is also that a lot of investors Italian investors are taking actually the international route as well. So they want to be really, really active abroad. And this is happening like more and more. So that's pretty interesting. Not only with Italian founders, but actually expanding to actually, providing better chance of return for their LPs. So that's pretty forward looking. Strategies are evolving, and even not only like founders are kind of crossing the country, but also investors themselves. So that's very good. That's I would say a good sign, especially for the fact that actually trying to build such an international strategy also attract international investor, as we always say, and that's the case that we see now with Naturbeads, probably with Rubedo also, of course, for sure. So that's a very good way to go beyond the local sort of environment. So that's pretty interesting, I would say.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is an important point, probably a fundamental point in order to embed the entire ecosystem into the international one.
Yeah.
We need to do the
exactly. And the good thing is that even like first-time funds are trying to do that strategy. So it's a good mindset. You don't need to be like a huge fund to actually do that. Even like solo GPs kind of style, they try to actually be as international as possible and seeing what's happening in different markets. So despite latest reports that say that VC is kind of slowing down and there is a lot of negativity going on, and it's an asset class which is like problematic for now. Still, there is a lot of movement, and this kind of proves it, both from the side of the founders leveraging Italy as a buzzing ecosystem, but also Italian funds actually being launched and closing the rounds. Like Techshop already deployed in I believe 11 investments, so the portfolio is there, and some of the top deals I would say in enterprise, B2B SaaS and AI even. So in Italy, so definitely a good and interesting like structure and performance for now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, the point is that probably from a certain point of view, the very early stage phase of investment is locally a little bit uncorrelated with the broader market. I mean, it tends to be a little bit less correlated, more local players that look at the local market and look for opportunities that will grow outside of it. Things get more complicated when you go to later stage rounds, Series A, B, and plus. In that case, everybody feels the slowdown in VC globally, of course. So good for us that a lot of our investments are still in the very early stage. So that's a bit of lower correlation. But we need to become more embedded if we want to play the later stage game. So there's a trade-off there in some sense. But I agree with you. That's the international aspiration is what we need now.
Absolutely. And it's kind of a good thing because we've seen sort of the big complaint for Italy is bureaucracy and whatnot. So I guess that the kind of incentive and buzzing and availability of capital is kind of offsetting maybe the problematic that maybe Italy can be as a business environment, which it's still not solving a problem, but it's a good way to actually keep attracting new companies that might be actually developing and growing abroad. So that's not too bad. Awesome. So talking about international investors, we have to mention LIFTT joining a 12 million round in Berlin-based medtech startup Medier. So interesting, of course. We closely monitor what LIFTT is doing. LIFTT is probably one of the most active and most international investors in Italy. A lot of people basically jumping on this round. Basically, the company is working on integrating AI into daily diagnostic for routine radiological exams. So very practical, very high volume, I would say. I don't want to imagine. I don't know the data about the kind of scans happening every day, and the value of it is definitely something incredible. So what is interesting of LIFTT is really that they're really touching a lot of very interesting trends that are happening and the crossroad of those trends. So it's not only health tech, but it's also AI, and then it's a very, very specific and clear and focused application. So definitely the investment team got it pretty right there. Yeah.
From the news, I think that this is not the first investment that LIFTT made in the Mediaire. This is probably, from their point of view, continuing investing into a follow-up round. That's interesting. LIFTT, they've been very good at being in the pre-seed rounds in international companies across Europe. So as you say, very good player.
Yeah.
So very interesting. And in hard science startups, not your average software company. So
exactly.
Nice.
Awesome. So Nick, we hit the billion this week. We did.
Yeah.
So officially is a billion.
So it seems. I'm noticing that I'm probably the most conservative in terms of accounting for numbers for the Italian ecosystem. So I've seen bigger numbers floating around. Yeah. That means that maybe we are there. So
but substantially big, or just like a few, like what is the sort of the biggest value? I think is already around 1.2, something like that. Yeah. Right.
There's a bit of
There is a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a little bit of variance.
No.
That's 20%. That's a big number. Even though as always, you have to take a look at the way the number is accounted for. Local companies, international companies, how much Italians involved, or Italian founders. So there's a bit of fudging the numbers in some ways there. But I think that across all measures, we crossed the 1 billion. So.
Yeah. And for the listener, definitely check out the assumption for all these data points that are out there, because there is a lot of discrepancies, of course. And encourage people to check out Nicolo's dashboard. Very interestingly, kind of tracking. So it's a very great resource if you want to check exactly how the ecosystem is evolving. So it's in the newsletter. Go ahead, check it out. All right, so we're gonna see how Slash this year is gonna go. It's basically happening right now, it's just starting. So I've seen a lot of movement. A lot of Italians are going there, both on the founder side and the VC side. So yeah, I mean, good news again. International, building bridges. That's really the point. Yeah. All right, Nick. Thank you so much for joining. This is the end of this week episode, and I'll see everyone next week. Thank you.
So Jack, take care. Ciao everybody. Have a great week.